welcome to my channel. My name is Janelle McSwiggan and I'm a nurse medical writer for the past 6 years. I help burnt out healthcare workers and nurses become medical writers and leave the bedside. Like, subscribe, and follow for more information on this topic. And if you're interested to learn more, my other resources are at willowbarkwriting.com. Today we're going to be talking about how to handle rejection as a writer. So this is a super important topic. Similarly to when you were a new nurse or a new healthcare worker and you were rejected from a bunch of jobs, that's probably going to happen when you're a new writer. It's just how it goes. I find that a lot of people get really discouraged and they either give up or they think that they're not best suited for it. I went through the same thing too, and I can say that I'm so happy that I didn't give up. I'm so happy I'm stubborn and that I knew I could do this and I knew I was smart enough and that I knew that eventually I would break through. And I will say it's not even that long, but some people just don't handle rejection very well, especially nurses that have been at the bedside for so long and that they're the top dogs and they haven't dealt with this since they were a new nurse. So even though it's not particularly long, it does cut some people to the core and they do get very discouraged right away. So that is a very common theme I see with the nurses and healthcare workers that I mentor in my course. So there are things that you can do to kind of reframe the rejection and just deal with that mental health until we get better or more work. So the first way that you can handle rejection as a new nurse medical writer is to just know it's not personal. Those editors don't know that you can write. They don't know who you are. You have no portfolio. You really don't know what you're doing. That's especially true if you haven't taken a course, especially one like mine. It can be really difficult to figure out the lay of the land. So it has nothing to do with your integrity or your intelligence or your background as a nurse or the ability to write. It's nothing personal. You just haven't shown that you can take on that work yet. If you can reframe it in that frame of mind, it really helps. The second way to handle rejection as a nurse medical writer is to realize that there are tons of fish in the sea. The market is huge. Everyone is hiring for writers, especially medical writers, especially nurse medical writers that have tons of clinical experience. We are field experts. There's not a lot of people that have this experience. So because one person rejects you, or one editorial team rejects you, that has nothing to do with any other editorial routine. When I was first starting out, I got rejected from one well-known editorial team, and that same month I was picked up by 2 media giants. So if I had let that first rejection get to me, I wouldn't be where I was today, and I would have let that fall. It's really important to remember that the market is broad, and just because you got rejected from one client does not mean that you can't do this or that no one's going to want you. It just means you weren't a good fit for them. Because medical writing is so broad, it means that there's so many different niches, and different niches or subspecialties look for different experiences. Just because one fish or organization didn't like your experience, it doesn't mean that the next one will too. So I implore you to keep trying and to just keep your head down and keep going. It will absolutely get better, and it'll get better pretty soon. Most of the people that I see give up are literally just around the corner from their next job. So just keep that frame in mind. The next way to deal with rejection as a writer is to remember that it happens to literally everyone. Everyone's been there. I got rejected from a lot of jobs. I haven't been rejected from a job lately, but I mean, I went through a phase where I was rejected a lot, and I remember sending literally 60 applications, emails, DMs, and no one would get back to me. So you're not the first person. You're not the only person to feel like this. And it's kind of just what you go through. The same thing when you're a new nurse and no one wants you because you don't have the experience. Just remembering that you're not alone and that this isn't an individual experience makes it a lot better for a lot of people. And to remember that if you keep going, there's a ton of profit on the other side of that margin. The next way to handle rejection as a medical writer is to know that it won't happen forever. This is tough. Like I said, I see a lot of new writers get really frustrated and they want to leave and they're done with it. And, they've had rejection after rejection, but they'll have rejection from 5 emails and maybe 3 of them reject them. And I'll have to remind them, hey, I was sending out like 60 emails for like 4 weeks straight at a time for like 3 months, and everyone, like, no, not a lot of people are getting back to me. So it's helpful to remember that it won't happen forever, and this is just a phase. And that phase might not even be as bad as mine was. I know some people that got jobs right away too. So it is very individualized too. I think it depends on how good you are marketing yourself, what your niche is, if you understand where your editors are hanging out, and how good your approach is. And if you've taken a course that can help you. I didn't take a course. I was just doing everything by myself and figuring everything out myself. So I think a lot of people have different reactions and different like spans of time that this can happen to, because everyone's individualized with their approach. Just know that it won't happen forever. The next way to handle rejection as a nurse writer is to tweak your stuff if it keeps happening. If you're sending out a cold email and you're getting no responses ever, what does your subject email look like? What does your body email look like? What's your call to action in that? How's your portfolio look? Is it a good portfolio? Are you reaching out to the right people? So if you're just, sending things into the abyss and you're not getting anything back, take a second to reflect. See if anything's going wrong there. Because if you're being super ineffective in your approach, you're gonna get rejected. It makes sense. So I also always implore people to look at their approach and make tweaks, and always see if they can better what they're doing, and if there's small changes that they can make that can bring about big changes. Because I found that a lot of the time it's these very little things that you can do to really reap the benefits on that. Another way to handle rejection as a writer is to look on different platforms. So if you're always on Upwork and you're not getting work on Upwork, and you're frustrated and you've run out of tokens and you're, getting outbid left and right, or you're just talking to scammers all the time, look at your approach. Where are you hanging out? And see where other people are getting jobs, and if there's anything else you can do differently for where you're finding jobs. I find that some people do really well on one particular path than another, and I tell them to lean into that all the time. So I think it is a very individualized choice for a lot of people. And if you find a lot of success in one area, you should double down on it. And if you're not succeeding at all on a platform, and you've looked at your approach and your portfolio is solid, and you've reached out to a mentor and they give you an okay, go on a different platform. Find a different method to find clients and see if that's more successful. And a lot of the time it will be. I think it really helps to work with someone who has been down there before, because you'll get much faster results. Another way to handle rejection as a writer is to take the Writing Academy course. I've been there. I understand it. And I made a course to help you get where I am faster, which means less rejection as a medical writer. Will you still face rejection? Of course, we all have. But hopefully you won't be stalled for months or just give up like some of the other writers that I know. So if you feel like you're halted, you're not quite sure what to do, I have tons of resources for you. You can find them at willowbarkwriting.com. You can also like, subscribe, and follow for more information. Bye.